Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we'll take a look at some new Just Know HOA stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, "This trail is private. If I catch you here again I'll call the HOA." Just a bit of info. I live in a small-ish neighborhood. There are several trail systems nearby. Some of them are marked trails, others are glorified footpaths. I ride a mountain bike, with friends, on them because I am too lazy to drive to an actual park, but they aren't too shabby. The usual cast of me, my friend, and, entitled, Lady, Ebb, and her son? Husband? AD, friend and I are riding our bikes around our community, taking the occasional trail or going down stair sets. Nothing too interesting, but that sort of sums up me. We are getting ready to turn onto one of the larger trails when AD walks out of his garage. We didn't really know the guy, but I knew his wife was pissy. As we are turning into the trail he yells out, "That's not a bike trail." This was one of the trails that was marked, but it wasn't marked as a designated bike trail. Friend points out that it doesn't say not to ride a bike on it and AD cuts him off with, "Shut it, douchebag." That was just the first part. After that happened we just started avoiding that area, but we were bound to go back there because the trail is pretty fun. Fast forward to today. Friend and I are back at that trail. We actually went down it and nothing bad happened. While we were coming back up the trail, it ends near a railroad and there isn't any other way to get back. We see Ebb sitting on the patio behind AD's house. As we are walking by she starts yelling, "Hey boys, you aren't supposed to ride bikes back here." Friend calls back, "Where does it say that?" There is a pause, and she says, "The trail sign says there aren't any bikes." It doesn't. I try to explain to her that the sign says, "Use trail at your own risk," but nothing about mountain bikes, but she cuts me off. "Don't disrespect your elders." She then tries to tell us that the trail is private property, even though the sign clearly states that it is for the public. I sort of laugh and say to friend, "Let's just go. This Karen isn't worth the argument." I said this almost under my breath, but apparently she has wizard ears. "What did you call me?" "Karen. I know the president of the HOA and I will report you." I tell friend to leave and we hightail it out of there. I will update if anything else happens. Next one is titled, "Using an HOA's rules to get back at a lousy landlord." Before my wife and I bought our house, we rented an apartment from a complex that we learned halfway through the rental process was a condo conversion. For those that don't know what this means, we didn't at the time either. This is an usually small apartment complex that instead of being owned by a single company and run by either an on-site manager or property management group, each unit in the complex is individually owned either by a person or company. And each owner chooses their own property management group or person, if they don't live in the unit, that is. In order for everyone to follow the same set of rules, they established an HOA that applies to all owners and/or tenants. We only learned about this when we were signing the lease agreement and were handed a badly photocopied stack of papers saying these were the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&R, aka HOA rules and regulations, that we needed to follow. Okay. Thanks for throwing that at us at the last minute. I'd rented before, and wasn't horribly worried about it, as I had always been a good tenant. So we moved in, and sat down to try to read the CC&Rs we'd been handed in a little more detail. Most were pretty reasonable, a few were kinda silly, but a few of them were contradictory, nonsensical, or just plain didn't apply. I particularly liked the one about the playground that didn't exist, and never had as far as I was able to determine. In any case, we moved in, got settled, got to know our neighbors. And then stuff started breaking in our apartment. No biggie, contact our property management group, let them know there's an issue. The interesting thing is, the CC&R they handed us was actually more restrictive on repair issues than state law. This is important, and attached daily fines to residents who didn't keep their property in good repair. Now interestingly enough, they defined "in good repair" pretty broadly. This included the appliances they provided, the mechanical systems of the building, and the structure itself. This is when we learned that the unit we were in was apparently the problem child of the complex. The owner always tried to skimp on maintenance, was notoriously slow to repair things, and really hated spending money on his investment. So we contact the property manager this guy hired and they, well, let's just say they were interesting. They sent out their handyman to take a look at the issue. Our washer machine had died. He looks at it, goes, yup, it's dead, and leaves. That's it. So I call up the property management folks before he's even left the parking lot. Me. Your guy just left here, after taking a glance at the washer, saying it's dead, and walking out the door. Didn't say anything else to us. Property manager. Oh, it's not a big deal, we'll get a repairman out there in the next couple of days. Me. Okay, just make sure you let us know when he's coming so we can be sure to be here. 5 days later. No repairman. Call them back up. Me. Hey, we still haven't seen the repairman or heard anything regarding when he's coming out. Property manager. Sorry, we haven't been able to contact the owner of your unit to get his authorization to send out a repairman. Me. Well, any idea when you might get someone out here? Trekking to the laundromat to do our laundry is getting a bit bothersome. Property manager. No clue, we have to contact the owner first per his instructions. Me. Okay, can you hold on a minute? I'm looking at the CC&Rs you provided us, looking at the section that states that the units are to be kept in good repair, and where it includes the appliances. I'm looking specifically at the section that says, all repairs must be started within 24 hours, and the section that states that owners will be fined X amount per day for repairs that are not started in that time frame. Property manager. Let me call you right back. Me. Please do. At this point we are approaching 5 days, and probably rapidly approaching the replacement value of the washing machine in fines. Well, that was the start of the war. Anytime something broke, they'd send their handyman, and things would either go unrepaired, or get broken worse by this knucklehead. And everything was a fight with the property owner. He tried several times to cause problems for my wife and I, everything from claiming we had caused the damage to the unit. How did we cause the upstairs neighbor to just happen to put a nail through the main toilet sewer stack, and therefore cause raw sewage to leak between the walls, to looking for issues to cost him money. At the end, that was becoming true, but only because he was such in a hole about everything. Here's where our revenge begins. The CC&Rs stated that all repairs had to meet current applicable building codes. Now, normally some things get grandfathered in when you're dealing with older buildings like this, but hey, their CC&Rs are legally binding on all parties, third sentence of the opening paragraph, if memory serves. Well, we had an issue with our windows. They wouldn't close unless you pushed on them from the outside, old crank to close casement windows. Simple fix, just replace the crank, right? Except by this point, I'd gotten thoroughly pissed off by the property owner and his shenanigans on different issues over the few months we'd been there. So I called up the property management company, they come out to replace the cranks on the windows. And then I point out the fact that the CC&Rs require repairs to be up to code, and those single-pane aluminum-framed windows are not up to code. Yep, they got to replace all the old aluminum windows in our apartment with double-pane vinyl windows. I waited until they had replaced the siding and repainted everything to match to point out that the windows in the bedrooms were not up to code. They did not open sufficiently wide to be considered egress windows per code. So they had to put us up in a hotel until they got that one fixed. They had to open up the wall on the inside and reframe the windows in both bedrooms to meet current code. I talked to the contractor one day. That one cost about $5,000 start to finish. The worst though, was the mold issue. The way our unit was constructed, it was a quasi-basement unit, which meant they didn't have to install fire sprinklers since it was 2 floors and a basement, instead of 3 floors. The bottom half of the bedroom walls was poured concrete. And those walls were always cold. The last winter we were there, we started to see mold develop on the walls due to the condensation and poor air movement in the closet. And that mold transferred over to some infrequently worn clothes and started growing like mad. Contacted the property management company. They sent their handyman with a bottle of bleach and some rags. Their next suggestion was to hang some of the damp-rid containers to try to absorb moisture. Then they slapped another coat of paint on the concrete wall as if that was going to do anything. That was the last straw in my book. I contacted half a dozen agencies before finding out the right people to talk to. They sent over a representative to take samples and examine the construction of the apartment. We were then only allowed to get belongings while wearing a respirator, and they ordered the property owner to get us a hotel for the foreseeable future. Black mold, not just on the foundation wall, but also under the carpet in the closet. All our clothing had to be professionally cleaned, decontaminated. Fortunately, it had not spread to the rest of the wall's structure, but was confined to one small section of concrete wall and floor. So the cleanup was actually relatively straightforward and only took about a week. The remediation though, that was not so straightforward. As best as I could figure out, when they built this complex, exterior waterproofing and insulation, to prevent exactly this scenario, on below-grade walls wasn't quite as stringently required in the code. But remember the language in the CC&Rs about all repairs having to meet current applicable code. They got to excavate all the way around the foundation wall, back to about 3 feet to give them room to properly work on the wall. They got to pressure wash the outside of the foundation wall, then apply the correct, read expensive, waterproofing to the outside of the foundation wall. Then they got to install foam insulation blocks, also expensive, on the exterior of the walls a week or so later, after all the waterproofing cured. Now, while that last one wasn't the owner's fault, if he hadn't been such in a hole about the repairs, and had been even the tiniest bit cooperative on repairs, I wouldn't have dug nearly as hard into making sure it was fixed right. And if the HOA's CC&Rs weren't so poorly written, he could have probably gotten away with a lot less. When I asked the contractor for a ballpark of how much something like this cost, his answer was more than $10,000. He wouldn't specify how much more. For those keeping score, that's over $15,000 in repairs. We were in this unit for about 2.5 years. 2 years on a lease, the remaining 6 months or so were month to month as we were wrapping up on buying our house. Our rent was $750 a month, and from what we could find online on the purchase price of the unit and when it was purchased, the mortgage for it was probably about $500 a month. Even without assuming other expenses like insurance, etc., that meant at most a profit of only $250 a month. That's only about $7,500 in profit for the whole time we were there. So if you are a landlord, don't be in a hole. It may cost you way more than you expect. Next one is titled, I joined the board of my HOA 3 years ago. Today we officially dissolved the board. Today was a good day. As a member of my 3-person board for my HOA, I helped officially dissolve our HOA. I bought my house 21 years ago. Admittedly, I was rather naive about HOAs and the nonsense about protecting your property values, etc. But I had a family on the way. It was a quiet and, at the time, rural part of the state I'm in, and it was a nice house at a reasonable price. So I figured, why not? I'd only be there a couple of years and then I could sell and move on. For various reasons we stayed at the house. Those included the housing market crash where I was underwater on the house for a number of years and I wanted to avoid the uprooting the kids out of the schools they were in, etc. During that time I watched some of the most ducked up things happen, all on the part of the board. 1. Selective enforcement of CC&Rs, in other words, if they didn't like you, you were targeted. 2. No enforcement of any CC&Rs, the board did nothing. 2. A prior iteration of the board deciding to outsource to a property management company that embezzled thousands from the HOA. Looking back, that was probably the board that did nothing with respect to enforcement. So if I hate HOAs so much, why did I join? Well, because I figured I couldn't witch if I didn't contribute. Then one day something really odd happened. I had multiple neighbors ask me if it was possible to dismantle the HOA. I told them, yes, but it's a lot of work. We need at least 2/3 of the homeowners to vote on ballots saying yes to dissolving the HOA. A no vote or not voting were the same thing. So the board agreed unanimously to put it up to a vote. We went door to door, collected signed ballots from each homeowner, answered any questions they had including, well, what if people vote to keep it? We'd reply, then the HOA stays, that's clearly what the homeowners want. And of course there was the, well, don't you care about your house value? We need an HOA. Of course we would tell people the same thing. If you think keeping it's the right thing to do, you should vote accordingly. In the end it was clear the people living here, some of whom were the first buyers of the house and still living here from when the development was first put in, had had enough of dealing with the HOA. They all felt the same pain and frustration that I did. We got over 2/3 of the homeowners voting to dissolve the HOA. We'll be working on filing with the state the results, filing the dissolution papers, etc. And honestly, the overwhelming majority of us couldn't be happier. Today was a good day. Last one is titled, Not Following the Rules of the HOA When Not a Member of the HOA. Neighbors in a homeowners association have issues that I don't follow the HOA rules. So the neighbors called me in a hole today. I bought a house 5 years ago that a real estate company built on speculation. Mine was the first house in a planned subdivision that they were going to build one house at a time, or as people bought the individual tracts of land. The area kind of hit a boom period and the other surrounding houses went up quick. In my contract to purchase my home there was no homeowners association, and because I was here first I don't have to join any if the other neighbors decide to create. I'm grandfathered in is what it says in my contract. They all seem to forget this though and continually try to give me HOA fines for breaking the rules of the HOA. This has ranged from days I have things delivered to my home, Amazon deliveries on Sundays, to when I cut my grass, to me having vehicles parked in my yard and they aren't happy I own an extra tract of land because I bought 2 to have a bigger yard so I could build a shooting range. I live in the South, this is not that uncommon. The recent event though that led to them calling me an a-hole is they came over to ask me to remove the eyesore in front of my garage. Now my home faces the road, not anyone else's house, so they do stare at my garage, but apparently they still don't like it. I run a small hobby business of doing woodworking projects and I have a shelf outside my garage door full of various pieces of treated lumber that I may use one day. It's not the neatest and cleanest area, but it's not a disheveled mess either. So I told them if they lightened up and just left me alone about all the other stuff, I'd consider moving my woodpile if it bothered them so much. They proceeded to tell me that I needed to address all the HOA issues and take care of the woodpile, along with stopping any deliveries on Sundays and getting my other truck out of my yard. They handed me what basically amounts to a ticket and I trashed it and told them to get the duck off my property. They called me an asshole for my unreasonable behavior and told me they'd be back. Edit. I've been in contact with a real estate attorney about deed and whether or not they can still attempt to legally enforce anything. Also, I've contacted one on creating a cease and desist. I do have cameras on my property. Edit 2. The vehicle in the yard is just one and it's not an abandoned wreck, it's a fairly new truck that I use mostly on weekends. It sits there so I can get my other vehicles out easier. I do move it when I mow, so it's just sitting there beside my driveway. Thanks for listening.